would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everybody to the work meeting for October 15th. Thank you all for joining us. We have already called the roll in executive session, so we will move on to the reports. I will save my report for the regular meeting. Mrs. Weldon.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This evening, we're going to start. I'd like to start my report by introducing Mrs. Dawn Kazuba, who's here tonight with her team to present to you a presentation about the Ocean Township High School, OTHS, a community of excellence and growth. So Mrs. Kazuba, come on up, and thank you, Mrs. Conway, for displaying the presentation.
So first, thank you for entertaining me this evening. You get it right. Yes, for that. Thank you for having me this evening. I am very excited to present to you, and I'm going to present really taking a look mostly at academics, but wanted to share some other items with you as well. Ms. Conway, can you advance the screen? Please. It did on. There we go. So in this, I have just a myriad of things that are not necessarily academic. Some of them are, but really to talk about places that we were last year, some new things that we're doing this year, and how it's really impacting the overall climate. So you'll see in the bottom left, it's our spring musical. In the center on the bottom is our SELA by Literacy, our seniors who are in SELA by Literacy. And then at the top, kind of in the middle, is our first esports winning team, state first year. They won the states, so amazing for them. But also I've included the Senior Sunrise, which took place just a couple of days ago, or last week. It was beautiful. That's a great shot, but we had over 100 and something students there who participated. First time I've seen 100 seniors, over 100 seniors up at 6 a.m. So that was pretty good. And you can see our brand new Spartans in the bottom right. That's from our freshman, thank you so much. That's from our freshman orientation. And again, we had a high number. Ever since we started busing students to the orientation, we have much better participation from all groups. So it's really nice to see when they're there. And then two new things that we started this year in the center, kind of in the center top next to OTHS Spartans, that's our new staff newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter. We solicit information from staff every week and then put it together in this newsletter. It's usually about 2 pages, lets them know the great things they added, but also some important tips that we have for them, probably about 1 each week, but I think really important to keep the ongoing trend that we've had so far this year with some of the disciplinary changes that we've made. And then over here on the right, brand new this year, Spartans of the Month. Again, that's solicited from all staff. We get them through praise referrals, which has been an ongoing program the last several years, but also additionally through a form that our staff can fill out to nominate students. And as you can see, well, you can't see the whole thing, but if you look at the right side, it's 1 student from each grade that we recognize. So that was our very first group of Spartans of the Month, and I think they felt really good about being recognized in such a way. I read to them what comments were made about them, and a lot of times they're surprised. But little things really do make a difference, and so that's been great. Marianne, if you could advance a slide, please. So as I said, I really wanted to focus on academics. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but wanted to introduce you. We're going to look at AP enrollment, career readiness, and dual credit and dual enrollment. Marianne, if you could advance the slide. So we're going to start with AP enrollment. If you could go back 1, please. It was tricky, I know. So we're going to start with AP enrollment. So I wanted you to see that in the core, this is from 22-23 through this year. Okay, so we've seen those percentages of increases in all of the core areas. So despite the fact that some of our population is going down, we have more students participating than ever in AP, which you know, if you've seen me in the past, I feel is extremely important to future success, but it's not just what I feel, it's what the data shows for students. Marianne, if you could advance the slide. So how do we know where all of that increase is happening? If you take a look at the left, what it is, it's broken out by all of our key demographics. And you can see an increase in every area. More increase in some areas than others. I want to say our Asian increase is about 70%. I think it was about 70%. Our white increase was about 70%, and our Hispanic was about 50%, and then our Black student and multiracial students a little bit less than that, but still all of them increasing through the years. Now, a lot of people worry that when you increase access, when you increase the number of students who aren't typically earmarked for AP, that their scores will go down. That's really what the second chart is about. So you can see that over the years, although we had an outlier with the 72, that was the COVID year, the 48, also an outlier on the low end, that was the year after COVID. So COVID year, everyone's taking them at home, things are kind of loosey-goosey. The year after, really a tightening of the reins. But if you look across, that last number is 60%, and that's what last year's group, one of the larger groups, that was their score, 60% of them earned a 3 or higher. How many more exams does that equate to? From 22-23 to this year, 215 more exams despite having fewer students, which I think is huge. Part of that was the introduction of a new course. We had last year for the first year AP Pre-Calc. One of the interesting statistics about AP Pre-Calc, although it was the first year, the 2 teachers who were teaching it, first time they had obviously taught AP Pre-Calc, our students outperformed the state and national level in AP Pre-Calc. It's actually much harder to say than you think it is. They performed much better than the state and national statistic, which is unusual only because we have every student test. And I will say this across the board, when you have every student test, you're including your students who may be stronger test takers, not as great test takers. Many school districts only have their top students take the assessment. So their numbers are artificially higher for that reason. So I'm very proud that we're able to achieve this despite the fact that we have every student who takes the class test. And there is a benefit to that. So even though they may not get a 3 or higher, just being in the class, you've got to think about it. This is a class where they're spending an entire year, 82 minutes every other day. The benefit doesn't come from the 3-hour test that they take the first 2 weeks of May. The benefit comes from the conversation, the discussions, and the work that they're doing on a daily basis in those classes. Marianne, if you could please forward the screen. So I talked to you a little bit about AP Honor Roll. I don't know if you've heard this already, but I'm very proud to announce that we achieved AP Honor Roll for the 2nd year in a row. What is AP Honor Roll? I'll talk about that in just a second, but I do want to say that you can see it, you can't see it, it's on this side.
Mrs. Conway, can you minimize the gallery, the Zoom gallery? I'm not sure if you. I don't know.
So the one on the right, the blue framed one, is a special, consider it like a special badge that you earn. So in addition to meeting these criteria to earn the Silver Award, we're also being recognized for our access and opportunity. And that comes from those statistics that I showed you on the page prior. So I know I said to you last year, we're going for the gold. I still intend to go for the gold. You can see in the first 2 areas, we went from 56 to 57%. The gold goal is 65, so we're making improvements there. The second is 31 to 34%. The gold goal is a 35%. I want to focus on those two. I want to focus on those 2 for a second. Yeah, we are almost there. The first one is about what percentage of your senior class has taken at least one AP course, right? So what's your percentage? We're at 57% this year. Huge number of our seniors exposed at one time or another to AP. The second one is how many of those seniors, what percentage of those seniors have earned at least 1 3 or more? If you earn a 3, with taking the AP, you're more likely to do better and last in college. With taking an assessment, you're more likely to do better and remain in college. By scoring a 3 or higher, that number gets even higher. So all 3 of those factors are strong factors for success in college. But that one, 34% have earned of the senior class, it's limited to the senior class, has earned at least 1 3 or higher. Now, I wanted to spend a very small amount of time on this last one because I'm going to tell you, if we miss the gold by that last one, I'm okay with that. And I want to explain to you why. When we encourage students to take AP, we don't say, take 5 APs. We don't say, load up on every AP you can. What we say is, take AP in the areas you love. We have so many different areas of AP that students can find their niche, whether it's music, art, math, languages, ELA, all of the sciences, all of them have opportunities for AP. And it's rare to find a student who doesn't love anything. You really, if you work with them, you can find someone who doesn't. So if we don't get to 10% of our students taking 5, I'm okay with that. Because imagine sitting in an AP class just to take 5 or 6, and it's not something you love. You know, if you didn't love writing and you took AP Lang, that would be one heck of a miserable year. If you hate reading, AP Lit is not your cup of tea. So take it in what you love. So that one, yeah, it would be great to get it. I'd love to be golden, but not in this case. That's not necessarily the push. Okay, if you could forward that, thank you so much. So we're not perfect. I'll say that more than one time tonight, but we do have a vision for how we move even further. How do we get further than we are right now? This year, we've implemented pre-AP courses for all students in Algebra 1 and English 1. We're only about a month, 5 weeks in. I think there are some growing pains, but already we're seeing changes in the classroom that make a difference, and it's access for all. This is not an honors level class. These are not honors level classes. These are classes preparing them with the skills and the mindset so that when it comes time to make a determination, do we want to follow a college prep route? Do we want to follow an AP route? They've had that experience and they have some knowledge about, and I'm hoping they have some confidence about whether or not they're able to do that. Depending on how that goes, we'd like to expand pre-AP. Perhaps next year, 25, 26, perhaps it will take more time than that to really assess how it's going, but where we would go next is geometry, social studies, and the sciences. And then finally, expansion of intervention services in math and ELA. So right now, we have a math push-in in Algebra 1, several sections of Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, and we have push-in, we have pull-out for ELA. Only in 9th grade, and that's probably about 25 students. We'd really love to be able to expand the push-in model in both of those areas. So move ELA to push-in and increase the number of students we're servicing, similar to what we've been able to do with math a little bit this year by expanding into Algebra 2. Ms. Conway, if you can forward the slide. Okay. Career readiness. So I'll talk a little bit more about this, but we have seen an increase in enrollment in Spartan schools from 2023 to this year, a 5% increase. It may not sound like a ton, but we already had a large number in there. 32% of all of our high school students are a part of one of the Spartan schools. That's visual and performing arts, technology, business, and finance. If you could forward this slide, please. I like clicking myself. It's a little awkward for me, so I apologize. All right, so I'm focusing on CTE. I think it's important to focus there because with being a part of the CTE, and I'll explain what that is in a second, you have additional benefits. So just being a part of the Spartan schools, that 32% of the population I was talking about, that is about having a cohort. That is about a career pathway. So growing up through through that specific area, whether it's through ceramics from 1 to AP, whatever area that is. That's what being a part of the Spartan Schools is. But the additional piece of being a career tech ed program of study, in which we have 3 programs right now, comes with it college dual enrollment, comes with it certification, potential certification, also a very strong cohort and the Summer Bridge program. So a lot of extra benefits for being one of those CTE programs of study. Of all of our students in the Spartan Schools, that 32%, 2/3 of them, practically 2/3 of them, are in a program of study. Of all of those students, 21.8% of all Spartans are concentrators, which means they have taken 2 or more courses in this career tech program of study. The state average, and I want you to keep in mind that the state average includes vocational schools. The state average for students is 10.5%. So double the number of students, a little more than double. And the last one is about possible certification. So right now we offer QuickBooks for our business students. We offer Autodesk for our CAD students, and we have Adobe Photoshop for our visual and performing arts in the computer art program. 5.4% of all of our students earn those certifications. The state average, again, which includes vocational school certifications, is 1.8%. So knocking it out of the park in those areas. Again, why does that matter? We'll talk a little bit more about it later. All right, if you could forward the slide, please. Where do we want to go with this program, with these programs? We'd like to develop an additional program of study. It would be housed under our technology, our School of Technology. That's in cybersecurity. We already have secured preliminary approval for the grant that you guys approved us submitting. We still have to make some tweaks to it for the cybersecurity course and program. We'd like to expand it after this year into a program of study. We'd also like to look for opportunities with our current programs. How do we beef them up and make them even stronger than they are while we're looking at additional programs? I do like to take one at a time because to the developing of one at a time, because to do it well, to have a clear course of study that you're going to follow, you really want to put all of your energy into that while maintaining the others so that you don't lose ground. And then finally, the last one is community partnerships. We've been working with the Rotary. Gina today had a meeting with the mayor's office, really trying to seek additional internship opportunities. I forgot to mention with that second one of the things that we do, and it's a requirement if you have a program of study, is to have an advisory committee meetings twice a year. So we do that. Usually it's October, November, or March, April when we have them. And in those meetings, we have people from Monmouth County Union Workforce Labor and Workforce Development. We have people from our colleges come. We have parents who are invested in the programs. And this year, even reaching out into the further community, try to get more people to be a part of it. It's not a huge commitment, but the insight that the community partners share with us is extremely impactful in terms of the programs. And that's also a part of the last one. So sorry, I jumped ahead and backwards a little bit, but that's where we are. Okay, if you could forward the slide. So the last one, dual credit enrollment. And my little bullet point is since 2022, we nearly doubled the number of opportunities from 14 to 27. And that was largely through one additional partnership with FDU. So if you can forward to the next screen. These are all of the partners that we currently have. When we get to the other slide, I'll talk about some others we'd like to investigate further. If you could forward it, Ms. Conway. So this is just, and you saw a similar screen last year, but of course we added 4 new courses this year, some of them in the world languages, just as our APs are diverse across the spectrum. We'd like to do that with our dual enrollment courses as well. Why is it important? 34% of all Spartans have accessed dual enrollment. The state reports an average of 24. All of these contribute to college success in one way or another. So really great comparisons to the state about things that matter, that are meaningful as students move on to their future. Okay, if you could forward the screen. So what would we, looks like we're so great. We've doubled, right, the size of our dual enrollment. What else could we possibly want? We love additional post-secondary partnerships. I started to talk about that. I've seen a program for Rutgers for their writing program. We've looked at, or I've looked at Syracuse University, which offers a SUPA program. There's a lot that is entailed in that, but there are additional partnerships that we'd like to explore. Investigate study abroad programs and support student access. So I last year piloted a very small program. It was just going to be whoever was interested in our information session. We had 4 students who attended through CIE last year. 1 went to Spain, 1 went to Italy, and 2 went to Japan last year. Those 4 students earned $17,000 worth of scholarships, not from us, from the CIE program. We hope to expand that further. I was happily surprised that 4 families took advantage last year. We did wind up getting some community support for 2 of our students. The one thing their scholarship does not cover is transportation. They had a little bit of difficulty with that, and through a community partnership, we were able to help ensure that they were able to go, and the kids have nothing but great things to say. All 4 of those were, I believe all 4, I know for sure 2 of them were language immersion programs. And one of the cool things, there are so many cool things. They live with a family, they go to school, then their activities are, all of it is about the language. At the end of the program, they can test there for the seal of biliteracy, and they also can earn credit. Can't remember if it's Tulane or Vanderbilt. I think it's Tulane. They can earn 3 credits for their language for the 4-week immersion program from Tulane. So pretty amazing opportunity for that one. And then finally, the last one, again, working with our own staff and counseling department and universities to get increased offerings in things in which our students are interested in, again, trying to expand our access across the board. Okay, if we could forward the screen. So you may ask, why are you focusing on these things? Well, obviously because they're good, but also because they speak to college success. How do I know that? Because this has been our focus for some time. And as Marianne moves it to the next screen, I want you to see what I mean by lasting impact. So on the left, you'll see not all of the colleges to which our students were accepted, but several of the top colleges to which our students were accepted. And if you look at the ones with the stars, those colleges are identified as the most competitive colleges by US News and World Report. So do our students get into great colleges? Absolutely. And the top right bubble, every year the state does a number for us looking at college enrollment. So how many, you have a percentage of students who say they're going to college. What percentage actually enroll in college in September? There's what's called summer melt. How many of those students do you lose? 88% of our students who graduated from school in June of last year enrolled in college by September of 2023. The state average is 72%. The next bubble is about longevity. So students who remain in school at the 16-month count are more likely to complete school. It's a strong number for completion of college. Our class of 2022, we have to go back a year to get the 16 months, 84% enrollment at the 16-month mark. The state average is 77. So does our focus on these programs? I can't say it's just that. It's the hard work of our staff every single day. It's the work of our counselors every single day. And it's the work of our students every single day that contribute to this kind of success. Marianne, could you forward it, please? As I said before, we're not perfect, but we have some cool new things going on, which we think will make some very positive change. The first is Smarter Self. You heard a little bit about it this year. We're pushing for even higher enrollment. It started off a little slow. I have another meeting with them on Friday morning to talk about more ways to get it out there. One of the, we have rolled it out at open house. We rolled it out at our class meetings. We're going to be rolling it out in the lunchroom to try to get students to enroll. I sent it out through Remind to parents, and then at back to the school, I reinforced the sending out of it. I really think if you could see some of the messages that they get, I've signed up for it. You should all sign up for it. It's for the whole district. Well, I shouldn't say it's for the whole district. It's for the high school, but all of our staff is able to sign up. All of our students are able to sign up, and you get about 3 messages a week. I checked, they won't send them before 4 o'clock. They send about 3 messages a week. Sometimes it's about time management. Sometimes it's about bullying. Sometimes it's about appropriate use of social media. But all of the time it's valuable. Some of the longer ones, I have to say, I wonder if our kids will read that much in a click on the link in a text message. But many of them are not that. Many of them are a short video clip, a short information sheet that students can really read and access to. And we don't see as a replacement for counseling, because we're always going to need that more intense help, but more as a proactive measure to help build student resilience, to help build student capacity in terms of mental health. We have a couple of other mental health things going on, the Spark Wellness Initiative and Fitness Training, or SWIFT team. You guys approved 8 teachers for me. Thank you so much for that. They're about to roll it out on the 28th to our students. That includes, they've been working on all of the planning since you approved it, and they're going to roll it out. We have arts and crafts. We have yoga, we have meditation, we have weight room, we have hoops in the morning, we have walks during lunch. So there's a lot. And then we have a couple of programs going on after school as well. So a lot, we want to make kids want to be there early, stay late. Am I going too long?
A little bit, but it's all good stuff. So
Okay.
keep going.
All right. So anyway, you heard about that. Mental health and sport, peer support training. So the kids are coming up with a name for that. You've heard about this. It's we went to a program. Yes, we called it the Hope Squad. That's not actually the name. They've been working on a name right now. It's Spartans Offering Support. They saw it as the SOS team. So they're working on that. SEL and Mattering team still going on, both for staff and for students. I'm going to talk more later, not tonight, about schedule redesign, but that's something we've been working on for about 1.5 years. ADL training and implementation in full swing this year. We were already designated No Place for Hate. Now it's about bolstering that even further and really looking at our code of conduct and doing some work there. As you already know, we've done it with cell phones, we've done it with hall passes, we've done it with dress code, and looking at what else we can do to improve that. And I didn't want to leave out the School Leader Award for Team B, because that is a program that is also expanding this year. Many of you heard about it last year. Our senior varsity club, junior and senior varsity club girls going into Wanamassa. They hope to expand this year into Wayside and DAP. Okay, I think there's one more. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I'm sorry I went long.
That was great.
It's great.
Do we have any questions from the board? Questions or comments, Mrs. Gilman?
And Principal Dawn, just incredible. Really, just so happy to see these things happening. 2 areas I'd like to focus on at a later date, and that is the pre-AP classes. That sounds very interesting, getting the students in 9th grade when they really aren't clear which direction or path they should take. So looking forward to that.
Excellent.
And the study abroad.
Oh, yes.
Mr. McCarthy came with me on one of those trips abroad, and we had to do it outside of the school.
Right.
Whereas other districts were having their students keep a journal, and they were receiving credit for it when they returned. And the journals, could be in the form of a diary, they could have been artistic. There were many opportunities. So I'm very glad to see us broadening our horizons and sending students abroad to learn more about the world.
Thank you. It's
So great
exciting.
job.
It's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Mr. Dalton.
I wanted to say thank you because I went through all the slides, but your presentation brought it all to life. So I really appreciate that, you and your team. So thank you so
They're
much.
amazing. Yes.
And I just themes that came through this whole idea of this balanced approach of excellence, but also increasing participation and access. And I think you should all be proud of that work because as you ended, you're still striving that vision, and it's a lot of work, and I respect that. So I respect all the work that you're doing. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just wanted to say that, it was awesome, but listen to the access point of it. Sometimes I'm sure that you hear, whether it's during the meeting or after the meeting, when we get test scores and we, have a meeting of sometimes things don't look so great, that the access piece has been a goal, and it's great that we're doing it. And I personally focus more on the access than I do on the scores. And I just wanted to say, awesome job with that. And then my last comment will be that I had told you, I think, or you heard in the meeting that I spoke about the cell phone policy at the high school. And since then, I've also heard great things about the color coding bathroom policy. So I just wanted to let you know that the things that have been, little rumblings around in years past are really, it's nice to hear that some of the things that maybe we're getting to the board level of a point of concern have definitely been addressed. I think you all heard it, Ms. Weldon heard it, everybody heard some of ours, and I think that your implementation of things, your whole team has been great this year. I know we're only in October, but I'm excited about the year, and I just wanted to give you kudos for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from
You
the
have a
board?
great team. You have a great team.
So,
I wanna keep
Ms.
that.
Kazuba, I do want to keep you up here. We would like to open up the opportunity for the public to ask any questions specifically about this presentation. Okay, questions only is what we're going to open this up to the public for. We do ask that the public restricts these questions just to this presentation. Ms. Kazuba, if there's any question that you're asked where you're stumped, it's okay for you to respond and say that you'll get back to them, and we will get back to them in a timely manner.
Okay.
Okay? So with that, if there's anyone down in the auditorium who would like to come and ask a question, we'd like to pause for a moment and open it up for that.
We don't have any commenters.
Okay, thank you. And then Mrs. Conway, would you please let us know if there are any participants on Zoom who would like to ask a question regarding this presentation?
No, Vice President McCarthy. At this point, there are no commenters.
Thank you, Mrs. Conway. With that, I'll move on. Mr. Hastings, did you have anything? Thank you, Mrs. Kazuba, so much. Great job. Fantastic. Thank you.
I just have
Thank you, guys.
another
Oh,
few
please,
minutes before I
sorry.
close out my report, no problem. Okay. Mrs. Kazuba and your team, thank you so much. That was a lot of hard work went into that, and a lot of hard work goes into implementing all of those things every day. I've already shared with the team how impressed I am with the notable changes that they have made and implemented to recognize and praise achievements and greatness and build morale and positivity in their school, and also highlight all of the great work that we do and all of the achievements of our students. And I thought it was important for the board to see that as well. And it's just a great job, great job. And I know it'll be a good year at OTHS. This was a series that we did start last year, What Makes Our Schools Great. We started with Mrs. Kalea at Wayside School, and I'm happy to have the high school follow it up, and we'll have some other presentations in the future along these lines. So great job to all of you. I will not read these, but there are a lot of very exciting events coming up in our schools in October. So please check that calendar. It's in the board docs for the board, but it's also just on our district website. See the calendar. There are many different exciting events happening in the next few weeks at all of our schools. I encourage you, the board and the public, to come out, support our students, support our staff in these different events. Board members, this is around the time of the year where I open it up. If there are board members who would like to come into events at the school or would like a tour of a school or a facility that maybe you're not familiar with or you'd like to take a closer look at, I offer that up to you. All you have to do is reach out to me and we can arrange for that. Okay, but I want, if there are things, activities going on the calendar where you would like to see a little bit more about our schools, please let me know and I'll be happy to arrange that with you. Okay, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Hastings?
John, can I ask a
Oh,
question?
please.
Ms. Waldman, is there anything specifically you'd like us to attend?
Nothing specific, but there are a lot of great things coming up. We have the 8th grade freshman kickoff at the high school. We have homecoming this Friday. There are Halloween events, things like that. Spartan Scholars, I hope everyone, Mr. McCarthy's
That's
gonna address
right.
that downstairs, but Spartan Scholars is coming up. So no, there's nothing specific, but just a lot of great activities going on. Okay?
Mr. Hastings?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We're making significant progress on the installation of the new preschool playground at Watamassa. If you've been by there recently, you'll notice that all the equipment has been installed. Today, they delivered the rubberized material that will be poured as a base for those for that playground, and fencing will be installed. But this week, once the weather starts to get a little warmer towards the end of the week, they'll pour the rubberized surface, and hopefully by the end of this weekend, that'll be in place and the playground will be ready for use. Also, tomorrow, the county DOE will be out to inspect 3 of our schools. This is part of the QSAC process, and it's also tied to our agenda item on the health and safety checklists under the finance section. The county business administrator will accompany principal, the director of grounds, myself, and our newly appointed director of grounds. Walkthroughs of the buildings. They'll be inspecting for all kinds of things, certificates, inspection certs from the fire department, health inspections. We'll look at classrooms, bathrooms, sort of top to bottom, and it is part of the QSAC process. So we look forward to that and look forward to any feedback they may have for us. But doing a partial walkthrough today, it looks like the district's in good shape and we don't expect any surprises.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Wonderful. Mr. Dalton?
Mr.
Presentation of
McCarthy,
minutes, please.
presentation of minutes from the October 1st executive session. We will be voting on these downstairs later. Anyone have any comments, questions?
All right, thank you, Mr. Dalton. Moving on, personnel discussed in executive session. Moving on from that. Financial management, we'll go to Mr. Weinstein.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Vice President.
King John, King John.
It's only tonight, don't worry.
No, it's cool, it's great. Up for discussion is 8.1 to 8.3. Maybe, Jeff, you want to talk about any of these, or?
Well, you hit both, and I want to touch on 8.3, donation to the girls field hockey team from Shrewsbury Volkswagen. We're appreciative of that. And as I've just mentioned, 8.1 is the statement of assurance and submission to the county of our health and safety checklist, which is about 60 items on the checklist that we go through and supply to them.
Cool. Any comments or questions on 8.1 to 8.3? Okay. Moving on to instruction, education, and student activities, Mrs. Gilman.
Yes, Vice President McCarthy, we have 3 items for discussion. 9.1 are out of school, 9.2 are school trips, and 9.3 PD for our staff. We'll be voting on those downstairs. Are there any questions or comments?
None. All right. Negotiations was discussed in executive session. Policy. We go to Mr. Weinstein.
No, Mrs. Gilman.
Mrs. Gilman. Keep you on your
That's
toes.
fine. That's fine. So 11.1, we have second readings of our revised and abolished policies. We discussed them at our last meeting. So this will be our second reading of the policies and regulations.
And we'll be voting on them downstairs.
Downstairs.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments or questions on any of the policies that have been presented? for the second reading. Right. Hearing none, we'll move on to public relations, which is Mr. Weinstein.
Yep, so up for discussion is 12.1 and 12.2. The board goals, I guess this is a third round.
I can provide some clarity there. I took the feedback and the edits from the board last meeting, edited the document, and that's what you see before you is hopefully I captured well what you wanted, the changes you wanted in the goals.
Hold on 2 seconds, please. Let's see, should we pull that up? Okay, perfect. All right, so it's up on the screen. Do we have any comments or questions about what is up on the screen, Mrs. Gilman?
I'm not sure about the clarity of this sentence. Strive to formulate budgets that promote innovative educational programs growth. Educational programs, there should be a comma
We gotta
maybe,
fix
or
It was
educational
originally program
comma,
growth.
Program growth.
Program
growth.
Yeah, not
Okay, so you're gonna take
Program
the S
growth.
off of okay, educational program growth while falling within the state mandate. Okay.
I believe the board's, yes, we'll fix that. My
Okay.
apologies. I
That's
wanted the word innovative and educational added to that and
So we'll
Educational-
strike the S and make that a proper sentence.
That's right.
That's correct?
Educational program growth, that's better. Thank you.
You did well in your high school English class.
Because these two.
Nice spot. Nice
I
spot.
figure they're gonna figure it out.
Any other comments from anybody on any of the board goals that are on the screen?
Good point.
So the
Yeah.
board is okay with what is on the screen now, to be voted on pending the striking of that S
So we'll be voting today,
tonight.
in regular
It's
session.
on the regular agenda.
Good.
Okay?
Mhm.
Adjectives and all.
And that was our goal, right?
Yes. Correct.
Adjectives and all.
We had a goal, all right.
The goal for the goal.
And
I love getting goals.
this New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuing District Performance Review. Is there anything you wanna discuss around? It's a lot of
So we,
Favorite day of the
Buzzwords.
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
as Mr. Hastings said a little bit earlier about our facilities walkthrough scheduled for tomorrow at a few of our schools, there will be an assessment later in the year in February where they will review all of our procedures in 5 areas, as you see here: instruction and program, fiscal management, operations, governance, and personnel. And so it begins with the district review. So we review all of the indicators that will be required to demonstrate that we comply with. And we have to send that in first, and then they come back later in the year and they evaluate. So this is the first step of we need a board resolution that you have, that we have completed our review, and we will be submitting it to the DOE. So.
Thank you. This is the review, or this is just a summary of what you will be reviewing?
It is our review of ourselves, which is that we do almost everything on there. I think there was one item in fiscal.
There's one item in fiscal, which is unauthorized orders, or commonly called confirming orders. That's where someone may order items before a purchase order is actually approved. And the county has directed at one of my county meetings, all the BAs not to give themselves points for that, because if they can find one, you don't get those points. And unfortunately, this is an all or nothing pass fail in terms of getting those points.
So that means if in the 11th hour, if a staff member purchases something without the approvals because they believe they need it for a program, that's not following the purchasing procedures. So,
Okay, I do have one more question, because on the top it says 22-23, and then it says school year 24-25. Which year is this from? This year?
it's the state's document, so we did not alter it.
Okay, no, I'm not saying. I'm just wondering what year we're.
They usually evaluate you on the previous year, so that would have been last school year.
Right. that's
But
what I
if
thought.
some things happen this September, this October, this November, they may look at this year as well when they come. We prepare both. We prepare to show them whichever one they ask for when they're here.
Because I do know last year, we didn't do an evaluation for the superintendent. So which one would that go on?
You did last year.
Well, last school year,
Well,
you did evaluate
the
me.
one 2023, I guess, 2023, 2024. So that is not reflective on here though.
Because last school year, 23-24, the superintendent was evaluated.
It's last year or this year.
You were, but I'm talking about before you.
Right, so that doesn't fall under the guise of this particular report, because they look at the previous year
This last year
or the
or this
previous
year.
annual requirement that's being addressed. So under governance,
So it wouldn't be on this one. It would be on last year?
We did, but CUSAC is every 3 years.
They do a third of the state every year. And they move it through
So
that way,
we're
so we
up for
haven't been
review,
out
right, this school year, and they will look back as far as one school year. So 23-24 school year.
So they're not looking back on the 2 years ago.
They are not.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you, Mrs. Talrico. Any other questions, Mrs. McGovern?
I just wanted to make a comment that I know that CUSAC is a lot of work for a lot of people. And I just wanted to commend our district, everybody who has to touch this document, because it's nearly everybody in admin and you know, trickling down. And it's, like I said, a lot of work, and I think that they should be commended just for the amount of work, just in putting the document together without even having the stress of having the state here tomorrow or the state come in throughout the year. Just even preparing the information is a lot of work.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Moving on to old business. Does anybody from the board have any old business they would like to bring up? Mrs. Dan.
I just want to touch base on what I talked about last meeting about maybe the food initiative that we can take on what we're offering our students. I did talk to Ms. Weldon about it. And Ms. Weldon, tell me if I'm misspeaking now, but either we want to talk about how we want to get the ball rolling on this, or is it the first step that we take is by asking Sodexo, giving us a list of what all the offerings are, and then we can look at the ingredients or pick specific things that we're looking for that maybe we don't want to provide our children anymore. So kind of up to discussion on how maybe we want to start this initiative, if we're interested in starting this initiative at all. So I'm not sure where.
So
take
to
that.
clarify now, we have a question to the board, you know, how do we want to proceed with evaluating our food offering that we're giving in the district? So I'd like to ask that anyone on the board propose ideas here. Mr.
Well, so the evaluation you want to do is to evaluate the quality of what our kids are eating. Is that basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mrs. Gilman?
I think a good place to start is, as you mentioned, let's get a list of what we do serve now, because I'm unsure of what we're offering for breakfast or for lunch. I know that Sodexo has tried to be innovative and offer more salads or whatever, but let's see what we have. That could be a starting point.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues is more of like the snacks is really what we, for me, would be something that we want to focus on. 'Cause those are the easier things to see what the ingredients are. If there's any of those specific dyes that are really a main issue, you know, we can talk about that in further length if you want to, but.
Oh, I'm looking for jump straight in my head so I know I'm in the queue.
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point, but I think maybe Ms. Weldon, correct me if I'm wrong, if we want to take a vote, if we're interested in having this initiative, I don't, which way we want to go about doing that.
Before we do this, Mr. Weinstein, what did you want to ask?
Oh, did you have your hand up first?
Go ahead.
I guess I am interested in it. I guess I don't want to be gated in our thinking by what is being served. And I'm not sure how we actually evaluate it. I don't know how we evaluate it, like what's the evaluation criteria we're trying to use. So I'm not sure if we need a nutritionist or somebody to kind of help us evaluate this. But I would also like to know what the options are to make it more healthy that falls within whatever kind of agreement we have with them. So that's probably my thing is to understand what is being served, how do we evaluate it, and then understand what our options are based on what is inside our agreement.
Ms. McGovern?
The only thing I would add is that I know that we have, I'm all for this. I'm all for, you know, less CRAP, even though if you open my child's lunchbox, you'll probably see some of it there. But I would say that the one thing we need to remember is that there's parents that are gonna definitely care about this. There's a population that's gonna definitely not care about this, right? And I'm not saying that we're the ones that it should be our be all end all, but I think that before we make any drastic decisions of taking certain foods out or certain dyes out or anything. I think that you probably need to have a broader conversation with more people than just 9 people sitting here. But the other thing I would say is, but while we're collecting the data, because I think you have to start somewhere. So I think that that is a great place to start of what we serve or what the options are of what we serve. But also maybe, and I'm sure they can do this since the kids swipe and we know what happens, if they have an idea, and I'm sure they look at it themselves for ordering, of what the hot ticket items are, right? So if Doritos are the #1 seller in the district, you're gonna might have a hard time getting rid of Doritos, even though they're not great for you, you know? So I just think that we probably need to know, and maybe that's not step 1, but maybe we need to know what the hottest snacks, hottest drinks, hottest whatever of this stuff that we want to tackle first. I think you're right that starting with snacks is probably the easiest way, and then kind of go from there, because I think you're not going to be able to drastically change for cost wise and for, you know, I think buy-in wise to an incredibly, you know, healthy organic system overnight. So I think you have to start somewhere and maybe start small and do that. But so I would say if we could, and Jeff, you would probably know better than anybody if that type of document even exists, of what maybe gets used a lot, and is it used a lot because we know that's what people always buy, so that's what we're constantly ordering. Pretzels are the #1, and that's great because there's no dye in pretzels, right? So maybe that is, or you know, so I don't know if that's the type of thing, but that would be where I would say is finding out, like you said, snacks and drinks, and maybe saying what our options are, what we use, and what we use the most of.
And if there's substitutes, right?
Any other opinion on the information that we would like to consider probing as a board?
I was just wondering, doesn't Sodexo kind of, I would assume that we're not the only ones to ask for this kind of evaluation. Do we know if they actually facilitate that?
Do you know the answer to that question?
I mean, we can't be the only ones trying to figure out how to get on a heart healthy, mind healthy kick here, right?
Right, so the state food nutrition folks talk about childhood obesity and food service programs in schools as akin to the anti-smoking campaigns back in the 70s, maybe it was, if I'm dating myself. So they look at this as a process over time to correct eating habits and to encourage healthy foods. Sodexo, as you said, national company, probably international, and food service for schools is a big part of their business. So they do keep up on the trends and the changes in law in terms of what's allowed to be served to kids and how to make those adjustments. We mentioned Doritos. We serve reduced fat Doritos. They serve baked chips instead of regular chips. So they look at these incremental changes in the diet to start reducing some of these things. Sodexo keeps production sheets on what's made during the day and how much of it is sold. We encourage them to provide a variety of options for the students, and then we use sort of the garbage can test in terms of seeing what's successful. So at the end of the lunch period, we go around, look in the garbage cans and see how much of it did the kids eat and how much did they actually just throw out. Sodexo is working with us. We've reached out to them to get more information. They provided some documentation just this morning for us about their efforts to provide healthy, nutritious meals to students, not just here, but across the state. They sent me a link this morning to a new program they're launching called NutriSlice, which allows Sodexo to input the menus that you would see online under the lunch service, and you go into the NutriSlice system, and you can click on, today was tacos and beans, and it'll tell you what the nutritional makeup of that meal is. So I had some questions on that before we roll it out, but that should be rolled out probably in the next week or so. So they are aware of the concerns that we all have about that, and are working within the financial parameters of our contract and what we can provide to keep moving down that path.
So just to focus this a little bit, so I don't want to speak for you, but I'm under the impression that there are certain ingredients that you want to probe for.
Yes.
But is this also a desire from the board to see a nutritional overview of what is being presented to our students on a daily basis, a monthly basis? I think we need to just sort of define the aperture so we can tell the administration at Sodexo what we're asking for.
So the menus that are put up have been monthly menus. So we go in and look at the October menu, and you can see across the school week what's being offered as the main course.
And that's the hot food, like the lunch part of it.
Correct.
But you would like to see.
I would like to see the snacks and the drinks.
There is, so on the NutriSlice system I mentioned, I
that's
looked at
the-
this morning, it had the tacos and organic beans, but then also down the daily, it had a bunch of other things that are options for kids.
And all of the nutritional facts are provided with the.
Yeah, so it's basically the label you'll see on the back of a jar of applesauce or, whatever.
So has that been, access to that been presented to the board, or do you have to have a student in the district to be able to see that, what you're referring to, the NutriSlice system?
No, we're gonna post it to the website and it'll just be a link.
You'll post the link, and so we'll send that out to the board, and the board can review that prior to the next meeting?
Sure.
Will be working by then.
Before the next meeting, yes.
Do you think so?
Well, the
If
next
so-
meeting's not for like 4 weeks, 3
Yeah,
weeks.
and I was looking at it today, so.
Before we do that, I just want to take a straw poll, is the whole board, please, anyone in favor of that, raise your hand of reviewing that just for the board, so we can. Okay, so all in favor, all right, so we'll review that for the next meeting and use that to guide further discussion and maybe additional questions that we have
Perfect.
regarding ingredients.
And
Mr.
that's-
Weinstein, please.
I just want to ask, was that in response to Caitlin's request, or did they offer this link to you? I'm just trying to understand who's pulling and pushing who here.
Well, so that's, this particular product called NutriSlice is new. Prior to this product, Sodexo had a different product.
They were rolling it out. It's not new because we asked for it.
Okay, they were rolling,
They were
they were
rolling it
telling us
out.
about this anyway.
So we have students
Okay.
with various health issues, and
Okay,
a nutritional book, map of what's being offered is important to those parents who need to know what their students are having based on their health
Right, it's
concerns.
not a result of my meeting with Ms. Dan.
Yeah.
That's
we
a
can cover that
Sodexo, this
quickly.
national
well,
company.
I didn't know,
that's
I just
launching
want to
you
know
out.
if we were pushing them to do something, where they
No.
already had something, or, you
This is
know.
what they're already doing.
Okay, good.
Which is, we just got some more information. It was brought up at the last board meeting. We got a little bit more information about some of the things, as you said, they're a national company dealing with, hearing the news that we're all hearing. What are they doing? What are they proactively
Good.
doing for their customers?
All right, thank you. I think we have next steps and that meets our request for that. So with that, any other old business for the board? Any new business from the board? Okay, public comment. So the Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Public comment is not a question and answer session. Specific questions can be directed to the administration. The superintendent's contact information is on the podium. We encourage you to contact her with any questions. Public participation shall be governed by the following rules. Number one, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes in duration. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. The presiding officer may request any person to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. I would like to ask now if anyone from the public down in the auditorium would like to comment on any item at this time.
We have no public.
Thank you. And Mrs. Conway, do we have anyone in the queue on Zoom?
No, Vice President McCarthy, there are no commenters.
Thank you, Mrs. Conway. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.